Use it.
Hi everyone, welcome to Wednesdays with Whitney, episode 4. This is the lovely Miss Natalie Sinisgalli.
Hi everybody, nice to meet you.
I'm actually on vacation this week. I am back in Rochester, New York, where I lived for 7 years before I moved back home to Des Moines. So I am thrilled to be back with my bestie and my mutual mentor, Natalie. So we are actually here celebrating her 10-year business anniversary. So Natalie is a professional photographer just like myself. I worked with her for 4 years when I lived in Rochester, and we are back celebrating a huge accomplishment. So I'm going to kick it to Natalie for a little bit and talk to her. I just want to talk about we're at 10 years and where you are now. She's had some really big things happen within the last 6 months. So I think we're going to skip like years 1 through 9 and just kind of go to year 9.5 to 10 and talk about what's happening right now in her business.
Yeah, thanks, Whit. So it's been really fun. Last year as approaching year 10, it very much feels like the first 10 years were the first 10 years, and then what's next is the next 10 years. There was sort of a lot of natural progressions that kind of just really hit their stride at year 10. Mm-hmm. So the biggest of which is that I purchased a building to have my studio in, which I had been renting for the majority of my life, and it ended up being time, and everything fell into place, and found the perfect space for it.
It is perfect.
And the perfect street, and everything about it is just absurdly perfect, actually. So that was the biggest one. I've had my final move. We're here until we die. This is it. So it's just been great to be in the new studio. I have a really solid team. I'm really happy with how my team works together, and the women that we have to do the brand and the photography and everything with the studio. So it's just been a really good kind of a natural celebration point.
Absolutely. So, of course, I demanded that I would be in attendance for the 10-year anniversary party. So we literally went through our free dates and was like, okay, it's this one.
There's one.
There's one date. We're going to be here. So a lot of what I get when I talk to people about my business and coming back home, I'm sure a lot of you know that I was gone from Des Moines for 7 years, and during those 7 years I was here. And for 4 of those I was with Natalie. And something that people say to me so frequently is that, oh my gosh, you built a business overnight. And I laugh. My response to that is insane laughter, because nothing is further from the truth. While I did build a business in Des Moines quite quickly, I have been working in photography for other people for a decade. So something that, hi Jay, so something that I tell people all the time is I went to school for photography twice. I got my undergrad, and I also got my grad degree in photography, and that's what brought me to Rochester. I went to RIT, got my master's, and then immediately started looking for a job in photography. I had that panic moment because getting a teaching job is really hard in photography. If you've looked, you know. And so I met Natalie through our chiropractor.
Hey, Dr. Nikolai.
Hey, Dr. Nikolai.
Hope you're watching.
So we still know him. He'll be at the party on Saturday. He's amazing. And I just sent in my resume to this person that I'd never met and was like, hey, I think I'd be good at this job. I had managed a studio for somebody in college, and I had no idea what I was getting myself into.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure you did.
No idea.
You wouldn't have applied.
So I walk in for this interview, and it's 2 young women. I'm 24 at this point. I've just graduated with my master's. And Natalie, for all of it, we're the same, pretty much the same 25. Age. And she's been killing it already with her business and needed...
But I was having an equal panic moment because my previous studio manager, Kelly Castor, hey Kelly if you're watching,
hey, Kelly.
Had just made the decision she was having a baby and she wanted to stay home with her babe, and so she decided to leave the position as studio manager for me. And I was having that panic moment, literally the moment that Whitney was looking for the job. I mean, there was like a day where I was like, oh wow, this is yeah, I need to fix this. And I think the exact same day I went in to see my chiropractor, and he was like, you seem stressed. And I was like, yeah, here's what's going on. And I think maybe that afternoon he was like, Whitney, I think you'd be perfect for this job that doesn't quite exist yet. So it just kind of came together really naturally, and I didn't interview anyone else.
And I came in and I did my interview, and I like sat up really straight and probably oversold myself a little bit.
I was worried that she was too proper, which if you know Whitney, that's actually a kind of hysterical statement.
Not true.
But yeah, she interviews quite well. I would highly recommend that you ask her if you have an interview coming up and you don't know what to do or say. You should just do whatever she said, because I didn't interview anyone else. And I think I said, I don't want to interview anybody else. Do you want to work here?
That happened. I literally walked out with the job. And at the time, the job was really managing the studio. So the basic emailing, answering the phones, doing sales appointments, making sure that the client experience was seamless start to finish. So anybody who's worked with me as a client in Des Moines knows that is literally it's what I think about all the time. It's my favorite thing other than photographing.
It's my superpower.
It's my superpower is making sure that my clients feel taken care of start to finish. So it was literally the perfect job for me. And I did also have the opportunity to second shoot weddings for Natalie. So my first year with you, I think we shot 25, maybe more, 27 weddings together. For us, that's a huge workload with the amount of portraiture we do on a weekly basis. And also we both deliver albums to our wedding clients. So there's a long life cycle with our clients. So I second shot all those weddings for her, and I second shot exclusively for Natalie for 2 years before I started first shooting my own weddings. So
it's grueling. I don't think we can probably convey the actual what that would be like to have a 9 to 5 during the week where you're managing everything. And at that point, I was shooting 70 seniors a year.
You did 90 my first year.
Oh my God.
90, don't do that.
90 high school seniors, maybe 15, 20 families, 25 weddings. We were very active. So, 9 to 5, which is not even probably the hours that you worked, but let's just call it Monday through Friday. So all during the week, she would manage the studio, answer the phone, the emails, everything, deal with all this, and then keeping this organized and scheduled, which is basically a job in and of itself. And then on the weekend, she would shoot weddings with me, which is a whole nother thing. And I have a very strong personality and a very well-developed way. Whitney's just holding her tongue. She's like, that's one way to say it. A very developed system for how a wedding should be shot, in my opinion. And Whitney instantly figured that out, and we were in the trenches together every weekend and Monday through Friday. So we saw each other more than anyone else.
I mean, we were probably spending about 70 hours a week together.
And we're still friends
for 4 years.
But we weren't friends before then. No. Or really even right out the gate.
No, I
didn't even really like her.
It's not true.
No, it's not true.
Probably not as much as now.
I'm joking.
Excuse me, recovering from a cold. So the first 2 years I was really, one of many things I really loved about working with Natalie is I'm an incredibly ambitious person. Everybody knows this about me. And she was always constantly creating new ways for me to grow and accept more responsibility within her business. And when you own your own business and it's just you, allowing anybody else to do anything for you is insanely hard. If you're working for a small business owner and they give you a responsibility that used to be theirs, that is the largest honor.
It's a big deal.
It's a huge deal.
Not to mention, so she eventually was at the point where Whitney was first shooting for my studio. Her talent was there, her ambition was there for it, and it was one of the ways to evolve and move forward. But if you had ever told me I would have someone first shooting under my brand other than me, I would have told you were insane. Before I met Whitney, I never ever could have even thought about having someone have that much of an effect on my brand, my business, that type of direct relationship with my clients in which I wasn't even there. And Whitney earned it in spades. There was no there was no question. Like when that opportunity kind of hatched in our minds, it was like, yes, you're the person for this, and I trust you. So Whitney earned that like every inch of the way. And it was great as scary as it is for a business owner to give up that amount of control of your business or that much effect on your clients. It's equally freeing when someone earns it and you know that they're going to do a good job and you can trust them with it. That helped me grow as a business owner tenfold.
And you had time to do other things. So
like market, run a business,
things
the things
that you tend to forget about when you're in the trenches, just shooting the work, photographing. So I first shot weddings for Nat for 2 years, along with, I'm still doing my like 9 to 5, taking care of clients, making sure that everybody's still having a great experience.
The lights
stay on. And then also I was shooting seniors at that point. And I had this moment, and I was really happy in my work. I got to work with my best friend every day. We were building an amazing brand and an amazing team. My whole adult life was here. Everything. All of my friends, other than my family, everything that I had worked for was right here. But I had this moment on my 28th birthday when I was looking around and I was surrounded by everybody that I loved at my favorite restaurant, which we're going to on Friday. And
good luck. We hope we get a reservation. Please let us in.
Yeah, please let us in. We haven't called us back.
I'll assume that was for me, David.
Yeah, I will too. So I had this moment when I realized that I was invested in Natalie's business in the way that I would invest in my own, but it wasn't mine. And I like, it like hit me like a ton of bricks that I was not doing what I needed to be doing. And I was so invested in Natalie's dream, and I really believed in what she was building, and I hadn't even stopped to think that maybe I would want to do that for myself until it like literally hit me in the face.
It was like a week. There was just a week. There was a week. And I knew it too. And I knew that Whitney was never going to be with me forever. I mean, no employee will probably ever be anywhere forever, but it was like there was I knew that we were both at the same level of running a business and ambition and everything, and there was no reason that you shouldn't be doing this for yourself. There's literally no reason. And
having two of us in the
one
same
room.
business is a lot. And it got to the point where we had the same goals, but we were not fighting about it, but we both wanted to do it our way, and there was like not a lot of negotiation. All right, well, we're there. So making the decision was not that hard.
Right.
Like once it was made, it was done.
Right. Which is how you live your life.
Which is how I live my life. I make it and then it happens. But leaving was, every single second of leaving was hard. Like every single decision I had to make to get home. So I made the decision and it took 6 months to actually leave.
I mean, imagine being incredibly happy and comfortable and having this nagging feeling like, oh, I should make this change that will be incredibly painful, risky, and difficult and might not work out. And then you do it. That's impressive.
And having a paycheck. Like I had a paycheck, a nice one. It was great. Thank you. Now that I literally make every single dollar that walks into I have to work for every single dollar. Getting a paycheck is something that I admire you so much for having 2 team members that you pay you pay them every week. That is what you do, and that is huge.
If you're an employee, that might not quite resonate. And if you are a business owner, you maybe 1,000% get that, and it costs so much more to have an employee than to just pay them. So the amount that you receive as an employee, your employer probably pays 30% more than that to have you as an employee for various reasons. But
it's really special. Doing that research recently. So moving back was like a huge culmination of so many years of education. And one of the things that I appreciate, and I think has actually grown probably 100 times stronger since I have moved back, is that Natalie and I now are pretty much in the exact same position in our businesses. It took me a few months to get up and running, but now we have almost the exact same issues on a daily basis, and we can really talk through decisions start to finish. Like, how will this affect my life if I make this business decision? Or I mean, what are some of the other things we talk about?
Oh, well, and the interesting things is that we have, as much as we have similar businesses, we have very different, we're good at a lot of the same things, but we also have different strengths and skill sets and different goals with our businesses. So whenever we talk about something, it's always like, you know, we can build from our own experiences, but we know each other so well that we can say, hey, you will or will not like that when you do it. This is what I'm doing, but it wouldn't work for you, or, you know, vice versa. But there's so many things we talk about on a daily business, or on a day-to-day basis. It could be as specific as, you know, hey, what do you think of the new camera that came out? Which is like our least favorite thing to talk about.
I literally asked that. I basically am like, Natalie, so what should I get for gear? And she tells me, and I'm like, great, because I want to shoot with the best equipment, but for me, I would rather talk about how do I best reach my clients, or like the fun stuff, like people and marketing. Like, marketing's so much fun. We talk about marketing all the time. It's the best part.
Literally our favorite thing ever. Yes. And I think too, it was cool when you were working in my business, Whitney would have ideas, and they would be, you know, a lot of times they'd be ideas that would work great in your business, maybe not in mine, but we were able to, so many of them did work well in mine. Right. So she was able to kind of test out a lot of things.
Tested out a lot
on my business. So, you know, here's an established business, and Whitney's like, has an idea, and if it was a great idea and I thought would work, I'd be like, absolutely, let's do it. So you had already seen how a lot of your ideas could be implemented and the pros and cons of those implementations.
Absolutely.
So I think when you already had so much that you had experimented with, and she basically sort of been running a business. I mean, there were so many things that I was like, yeah, go for that. Have fun with that. That sounds like a great thing to have you work on. So back to your original question, though, we talk about how to make our clients happy all the time. We both love efficiency.
It's my favorite.
So if we're like, hey, there's this new thing that you can do and it'll save you an hour every day, it's like mind-blowing. Little tips and tricks, they might be nerdy things like in a piece of software that we use, or it might be just like a scheduling app, or any type of life hacks, business hacks.
Yes.
Anything to make things efficient, we're all about.
Really, really great. And now that we're in such different markets, there's no, I think we were very good about not being competitive with ourselves in an unhealthy, when we work together. But now there's no competition. It's literally anything we share with each other is pure growth on both of our ends, and that's magical.
It's awesome.
It's insanely valuable. And so, I mean, but building that relationship was huge. We've known each other for 6 years now.
Is that it?
It feels like a lifetime.
No, it feels like forever.
I feel like I was born attached to this human.
I think you're right. 6 years. Did we look like sisters?
That was a moment we need to go back. So I wanted to talk about what each of us takes the lead on, because we're not, we do have really different skill sets, and there's some things that, if there's a question, like, I'm going to be the dominant voice, or there's huge things that she's the dominant voice, I literally am just like, what would you do here? I just need to know.
And then we don't think about it ever. Yeah. Like, oh, great, I'm glad that you, made that decision.
So one of the things that, so I have 2 degrees in photography. I don't know how that happened. But what I tell people all the time, especially young photographers that come to me, I say, I didn't need either of those degrees to do what I'm currently doing. There's huge value to having the education that I have, but I learned more from working than I did in grad school.
I think that's true for almost everyone.
Right. And I was getting paid while it happened. And I learned, Natalie is one of the most technically proficient photographers that I have ever met. I don't know.
Nerd.
She's a total nerd. She has a science photography degree. I have an art photography degree. Those 2 things are very different.
They're so different.
They're like, we talk about like, what does this photo mean? And she's like, so let's talk about the science.
I'm like, what do you mean? What does it mean? And I'm like,
so we have weird conversations about photos. But I learned lens choice. I learned how to look for light. I learned where to have my people stand. I learned a system for photography for making people look amazing. So a lot of what people tell me about when I photograph is I make people look amazing. I learned that from her. That is something that we do.
It's posing and lighting. And things that I learned from Whitney, I had gotten so far into my system that you mentioned, which is a good thing. If you want to have a business where you can create a repeatable experience for clients, it's important that you have a system. but I was able to learn so much of the sort of nuance. You had such a fresh look on things. It was really cool to see my system for posing and lighting and lens choice being implemented by this woman's brain and eye, and seeing, oh my gosh, like that's actually super on brand for me, and I never do it. I'm going to start doing that. So we've taught each other different things about shooting.
Absolutely. Another one is Natalie taught me that photography can be a business. So I find that a lot of young photographers, not necessarily young, but a lot of photographers, it's their creativity. And both Natalie and I approach photography as business first. It should be to deliver the highest level of service to your clients. Like, it has to be a business, and
it's not a pretend business because you're an artist. And that's true for anyone that's trying to make a living doing something that they love. You really quickly have to get over the fact that you love doing this, and you feel like you should be paying people to let them do this for you. Like, that's insane. If you need to pay your bills, and actually one of my business mentors is Salvatore Sincata. If you're watching, say hi. And the phrase that he says all the time that really stuck with me was, "There's nothing glamorous about being a starving artist, and the clients that you're giving these crazy discounts to, are they going to let you live in their basement when you can't afford your rent?"
That's right.
And that was like, oh no, probably not. So that's one thing that really always stuck with me about it. And I think that's when around 2010, when I met him, was really changed my mindset of, okay, I'm not a photographer first, I'm actually a business owner first. And if I run my business and my life in that manner, it will make me a better photographer, and I can actually serve my clients better from a photography standpoint if I can afford to have a retoucher, have the best equipment, have a studio that they can come to, can hire someone to answer the phone so that it actually gets answered. Things like that will actually make you better at your craft and allow you to express your creativity in a way that makes money and still makes you feel fulfilled as an artist. It has to be both.
Exactly. So we're going to do something a little crazy. I don't know where I put my sheet. Oh, great. So we were going to tell each other. So we've learned so much from each other, but we wanted to discuss some of the top things that we learned from each other. And I mean, as friends, we learned about life and love and loss and like all of those things. We won't get into that here today. That's like a whole nother Facebook Live.
TMI.
But I wanted to kind of go back and forth and share like some of the top lessons that we've learned from each other. So one of the biggest things I learned from Natalie about business was the art of risk taking. So I am not a natural risk taker. I'm actually incredibly risk adverse, which most people would not identify me as. I happen to think through every single decision, like top to bottom. I'm a big cause and effect person, and I know.
Yes. One of the things I was going to share about you.
Okay, well, you can follow.
You'll learn more about that soon.
And Natalie takes risks almost without thinking about it.
Almost.
Sometimes.
Yeah, no, literally.
It can be a little bit of a problem. But that's why you have a team that comes in and says, okay, you want to take this big risk? This is how we're going to implement that.
Totally.
And I really did that a lot here.
Yeah. So Whitney would come in the morning sometimes to work and be like, this thing you posted at 11 p.m. at night about this new thing that we're doing. Oh.
How do you plan on doing that?
Let's figure out a way to actually do it.
And then it just happens.
And then we would do it. Yeah. So one thing that Whitney taught me about business, and this stuck out to me so strongly when she moved and was really, doing her business in Des Moines, was that done is better than perfect. And perfect is an illusion, actually, even more so than it being better, not as good as done.
Yes.
So Whitney would just, the minute she decided that she was running a business, she was running that business. There was literally no, oh, well, I have to wait till I have a website, or oh, I have to wait till I have a studio, or I have to wait till I have anything. She didn't wait until she had anything. I mean, she'd been hatching this idea for years. She'd basically been building this business for 4 years, arguably even longer than that, before it happens. And she just doesn't let anything temper her in any way, shape, or form. It's so impressive to me. And she really emboldened me I'm a perfectionist, and she kind of like beat that out of me as we worked together. But leading by example and just showing me how she could just go to a new city with almost really nothing physical.
Nothing physical.
And
really just my mother. I only knew my mother. My brother. Hi, mother.
Oh, answer. And just like go out there and do it. Like it was, she didn't wait till anything, and you were working on everything simultaneously, like the website and the business cards and everything, but she was going to networking meetings and she was introducing herself to people all over town, and I would have waited until I had a website and a business card, and maybe I wouldn't have done it. And that was a huge lesson that I learned from Whitney. Yeah. We are not going to be emotional.
No, we're not.
We freaking talked about this.
So, photography. So that is what we do. And the biggest thing, I mean, Natalie taught me most of what I know about photography, but one of the first couple weeks that we were working together.
That's not true. She was a good photographer when she came to me.
But like what I do now, if you look at Natalie and I's work, it's probably the most similar out of anybody. We have very
not to other people, I don't think.
Really?
I don't know.
I see the phones.
Yeah.
Are we still going?
Yeah, I think we're still
okay,
going.
good. Sorry,
yeah.
I thought we lost you for a moment. But now that we've been apart for so long, our styles are starting to differ and things are happening. But like, anyway, back in the beginning, she said, people love photos of themselves where they can see their eyes. And that moment of like really choosing your lighting so that your client's eyes are the focus of that photo, that changed everything. So I think when you look at both of our photos, really good light is a huge priority for us. And I think a lot of photographers choose location, or sometimes you don't even see our subject's eyes in other photographers' work. Like the face isn't a priority. For us, the face is the top priority in client photos.
Yeah.
So that was like a big moment for me hearing that from her.
One thing that Whitney taught me about photography, and this was, I think when you were working with me, she was running my sales appointments, so she would help people narrow down their images to their favorites. And I already mentioned I'm a perfectionist, and I like drama and the epic kind of really impressive shots. And I remember some couples that maybe would have had different priorities for their shoot, and Whitney was the first to, say to me, Natalie, it isn't actually about taking the most amazing, incredible, life-changing shot they've ever seen. It's about making them look and feel amazing. You're looking at me like, you're like, what is she gonna say?
I'm scared.
So the point is that it's not about me, it's about them. It isn't about my standards and what I might be able to create. It's what I create for that client in that moment, and making them feel special is actually, that's the photograph. It's the feeling that they had when they were being photographed that makes that photo good to them or impressive to them. So that's a huge thing about photography. And it's not about photography.
And it's about your clients. And I think anybody who shot with me knows that like, I value how my clients feel over pretty much anything else, because I think if you feel good, then you look good. Like that's a core value of my own personal life, and I hope that I can give that to other people.
Yeah, that's the secret sauce.
Marketing. So this is one of our very favorite things to talk about. And marketing is like this buzzword, but really for both of us, I think marketing is just how we run our business, how we reach people, how we touch people, how we communicate. And one of the biggest things that I learned about marketing from Natalie is that your brand is not just a logo. Your brand is how you are perceived in the community from top to bottom, how you put yourself and your product out in the world. And that is, connecting with people, how things leave the studio, how you answer the phone, how you respond to an email with no typos. I don't make typos anymore because
that's hard for you.
It was so hard. And I'm terrible with grammar, but this girl was like, no, can't do that. So I got better. So that was one of the biggest things I learned about marketing from Miss Natalie.
My favorite thing Whitney taught me is to play to your strengths. And I think it sounds obvious, but it isn't, because there's so many things that are put out there for business owners, like, okay, you have to be good at Instagram, you have to be good at Facebook, you have to do a newsletter, you have to have these events, you have to do all these things, and it's really easy to feel like all of those things are things that you should be capable of doing and that you should actually be doing. So whenever we talk about marketing, and Whitney will tell me about something she's doing, and I'll be like, oh my gosh, I should be doing that. And she's like, no, that's not your thing.
You don't want to do that.
And the biggest one, actually, I was going to say the biggest thing Whitney taught me about marketing is consistency. But that's actually just the thing that she's insanely good at.
Really good at that.
And I'm really not. So, like, I have my own live video that I do on Mondays called Mimosa Mondays. And I do it every Monday. I've been doing it for almost a year and a half, which is insane.
Which is consistent.
But it doesn't happen at the same time every Monday. So Wednesdays with Whitney's happens at noon.
It does.
Central
time
zone.
It's
I was going to say Eastern Standard. That's not accurate. So it happens at noon. If Mimosa Monday had to happen at a certain time every Monday, it wouldn't actually happen. And if it wasn't called Mimosa Monday, it would frequently happen on Tuesday. So consistency isn't my thing, but I'm able to be consistent enough in my marketing and excel in other ways. So I have other strengths that I'm able to play to, thank God.
Yes, you do.
But Whitney has really, hit that home in so many ways that, like, you play to your strengths and you figure out the game that you can win, and that's the game that you play.
Yes, love that. Sports talk. Look at you. We did it.
I don't want sports. What did you say the other day?
I said
Full
the
court
phrase
press?
full court press, and she looked at me with this blank face.
I was like, what? And she was like, full court press. And I was like, what are you saying? She's like, full court press. I was like, I don't know what that means.
We're not talking about coffee.
Yeah, so we figured that out.
So the last thing, life. So we're friends, and we spend 70 hours a week together. And now we talk on the phone pretty much every day.
We still like each other.
I mean, there were times, but for the most part. So Natalie and her family are some of the most generous people that I have ever met. So Natalie has one of the most beautiful
parents.
Her parents, I can't wait to see you, Anita and Ronnie. Her parents, they were my Rochester family. I went over to their house on Sundays for dinner. It was never really a question. They've always been just amazing with me. So getting to see that unit and getting to see how much they value their family and how generous you are with each other was a really, really beautiful thing.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome. So that was my big thing.
So, I mean, Whitney's taught me so many things about life. I picked a non-sappy one because I didn't want to get emotional. But Whitney has this really beautiful way that she lives in her life in which it's very purposeful and it's very... She makes choices, and she makes choices. Actually, let's just put it that way. So Whitney makes choices, and then she does them, and it simplifies so many things in your life. And you've taught me that, which has changed my life literally. Anytime that I was, feeling sad about a situation or upset or stressed or whatever, Whitney would very kindly, usually kindly, remind me that I am in this place because of the decisions I've made. And of course, things happen to you that are out of your control, but like 85% of the things that happen to you are pretty well within your control.
A byproduct of choice.
Exactly. So I think that has been one of the biggest gifts that you've given me is control over your own life. And
knowing that you have it.
Knowing that you have it and never letting anyone take that away from you. I think that that's the biggest thing, that the relationships that you're in your life, professional, personal, family, literally any relationship that you're in, you have a choice. You are either in that, you're in that because you've chosen to be, and you don't always have to make that decision. And so just basically empowering, I'm not gonna be emotional, empowering me to make choices that fit my life and that serve our goals and serve our happiness and the happiness of the people that we care about.
I think you said it better than I could. So thank you everybody who joined and everybody who will watch this.
There's been so many comments.
I know, I love it. So just this journey that we've had together, this is not even the middle. I mean, we're gonna probably live forever. So
we're doing it too.
I guess I just wish I wish for people to have something like this, but I do want to emphasize that it's built over time. So if you're looking for something like this, it's not an easy thing. It's like you live every day looking for it, and then when you find it, you have to protect it with everything.
And honesty. Whitney will tell me anything that I need to hear. Even if it's that I need to get my hair colored because my roots are 1.5 inches long. But
said that.
She did say that pretty much the minute she got here. But no, but honestly, like this friendship doesn't just happen because we're really compatible.
Mm-hmm.
There's been several times when we've had something to say and we've said it.
Mm-hmm.
And Whitney is another thing that, you know, lessons in life is you can't be mad at somebody for sharing their truth with you.
Mm-hmm.
And so even if it hurts your feelings, you have to thank them for sharing it and, you know, go from there. But Whitney's one of the most honest and loyal, if you're in, with Whit. But she'll always tell it to you straight, which is a gift. So try to give that to people if you can.
Well, thank you all so much, and I will see you next week.
Yay, everybody! Thanks for having me on Six with Whitney. This was great.